All right, Josh, as I like to say, we're back. Do you feel like you're back? I mean, do you feel like a back?
I can tell you my back feels older than I really am, but yeah, sure.
You got one of those.
It's good to be back in the seat.
You got one of those little those bead things that go on the back of the seat. I mean, rubs your back.
Oh, like the New York taxi drivers all have.
Yes,
yeah, no, yeah. I don't have one of those. So.
All right. Well, I've been saying this more and more here recently. We're going to try something a little different. I went back to the Jeep Talk Show archives, and I think I mentioned to you I've been remastering the original episodes. I think it's 1 through 43 has been remastered and put out on our YouTube channel. And of course, they've been there for audio for a while. There was one that the audio level was really low. I think it was like episode 2 or something. So it's probably before we started doing compression and all kinds of wild stuff. So I actually updated the audio.
Well, you were still figuring things out back then.
Yes, that was my excuse. So I thought it would be fun to go to episode 43, which Grok actually researched and told me that was the first episode that you were on. I know you and I have gone back and forth about what your first episode was.
Oh, God.
So episode 44 was an interview.
Yeah, I knew it was somewhere right around there.
Yeah, episode 44 was an interview that I did with you. And all that was seeing if, number one, if you were really interested in being on the show, and number two, if you were worth a shit. Just because somebody says, yeah, I'd like to be on the show, doesn't mean they're going to be a good match. And I've said it before,
no
first one to respond about being on the show. And I still think that everybody else is great and everything, but I think that just the chemistry between us on the show has been the best so far.
No, honestly, Tony, looking back, I kind of remember that first interview vaguely because that was over a decade ago now. Man, things were a lot different back then. Of course, I was in a different career. My equipment setup was different, but I remember I didn't have a studio back then. I was still DJing part-time, on the side and stuff like that. And I remember hodgepodging some of my gear together to record something in the home office that we had set up at the time. Totally different nowadays. But yeah, trying to set up some degree of sound dampening and trying to get the audio to sound like, okay, I'm not talking in a closet type of sound. But yeah. And I just, listening to a little bit of snippet off the air, as you and I were kind of setting up for today, good God, man, I sounded completely different back then. And maybe it was just the mic, obviously it was 10, 12 years ago or better, and things changed. But man, that was a lot of water under the bridge, and things are definitely different now, aren't they?
Yeah, well, you're apologizing ahead of time for the audio. I know what you're doing. I know you well enough. All right, you're not in this clip. This is probably my favorite clip of the day. This is just me talking. So I want to play the first clip with the episode 43 starting. And actually, what we're going to have today is we're going to start off with a question that somebody called in to our voicemail. It's been a long time since we've had a question called in like that, and it's great. It was a nice surprise for me. And I want to encourage all you guys to call in your questions and have them on the show. So this is a common thing that we've had over the years, is that we have had people call in voicemails. I was actually digging around in some old stuff, and I found the voicemail vault. I may be sticking these things in future episodes. And so we used to get voicemails, but it's
that's
very
fantastic.
Yeah, it's very unusual to have people call in. I mean, I think that that's a very difficult thing. You have to have a very popular podcast, very popular show, I think, for people to take the time to call in. But in this episode 43, you can watch it over on YouTube right now. It was a question from a user, and you were the one that answered it.
Hi, this is Josh, Northwest 99
I'll be
XJ on the forum. Bob, especially in Moab, Utah, if you're going to be doing any sort of off-roading and whatnot, the Unibody
whatnot. I love that. You use whatnot all the time.
By being reinforced. You're going to see a lot of improvements in on-road handling as well as performance off-road. The Jeep Cherokee Unibody especially the 2-doors. I don't know if you have a 2-door or 4-door.
You need to project your voice, Josh. Get out there and belt it out.
The unibody, not having a true dedicated frame, likes to twist and flex as you go off-road, with the suspension pushing back up on the body, and as you go on uneven terrain, especially.
Good information then, good information now.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, because a lot of people aren't really wheeling the unibodies much anymore. The XJ is obviously hasn't been in production in over 20 years, and is probably not a common vehicle that you would see out on the trails as much as you would 10 or 15 years ago. That being said, it's still a viable platform, and yeah, people are still building it. And yes, there is still plenty of aftermarket support for it. And my God, Tony, did you sound young? You sounded completely different in that clip than you do today. Holy crap. At first, for a second there, I thought it was me that was talking. But I was like, oh, wait, no, those are his inflections. Yep, that's Tony. I'll be darned.
Yeah, so I chuckled whenever I was making these clips because of the whatnot. You used... I need to find a way that I can go back and have AI search all the episodes and count the number of times you said whatnot.
Oh God,
that's a Josh word.
No. Well, and that and Botan. I mean, I think we made a drinking game out of Botan.
Yeah.
So
that was another made up Josh word.
My English and. Oh yeah, no, I come up with all my own words and vocabulary all the time. So, it's good times.
So, how did you think you sounded? Did that bother you? Because it's like you didn't have any of the compression or any of the stuff that you do. I know you're a big audio nut. Is it hard for you to listen to that?
It wasn't necessarily the lack of processing or anything like that. I mean, yes, now in my studio, I've got a compressor limiter gate system. It runs through a tube amplifier, all that stuff. It kind of warms things up a little bit and whatnot. Definitely a different sound than a Bluetooth headset like I'm talking on now. And of course, back then during that interview, I was on an omnidirectional, just standard microphone.
Right.
And now I've got a condenser microphone in the studio, much higher end gear, a lot better audio quality and stuff like that. But I had designed the studio for that when I retired from DJing in 2016. So it was sort of purpose built. And back then I was just using gear that I use when I was DJing, doing mobile gigs and doing announcing and stuff like that. So definitely different purpose built gear.
All right, let's jump over to our next clip.
But I was driving home one day, and I'd done the repair, the slip yoke eliminator the night before, went to work the next day, driving home, and I'm noticing this giant mist of smoke and spray behind me as I'm driving down the freeway. What the heck is that? And I get home.
The memories come back.
That I've blown something in the engine or something like that, and I climb underneath, and the entire undercarriage just absolutely coated in transmission, in the transfer case fluid.
Yeah, and it's from the transfer case back, which is a good sign for the motor and the transmission, but a bad sign for the transfer case.
Jeepers, feeling your pain.
I didn't lose all that much.
Yeah, it's amazing how little transmission fluid, ATF, whatever's in the transfer case. I think that the 231s and the 242s just take the transmission fluid for the T case. So it's amazing how much mess that you can get out of a little bit of transmission fluid.
Yeah, it's like getting a little scratch or something on your forehead, and suddenly your face is just covered in blood, because the smallest little tiny hole in your forehead somehow makes you bleed like a stuck pig, and it looks like an absolute murder scene. Yeah, same thing when you get a rear seal output shaft seal leak on your transfer case, and amazing, just a couple of ounces of fluid, how it sprays out, goes down the drive shaft, and just completely coats the undercarriage. I had totally forgotten about that incident and everything, and now I'm reliving it as I'm hearing my own voice describe it. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I remember that pucker moment. I remember that, and thinking what I was thinking at the time, and just, oh God, please make it home. Please make it home. Oh geez, what was that noise?
You don't know the transfer case is going to burn up. You don't know. You feel good it's a transfer case, but then again, it's like, do I have enough fluid in there to make it home?
Oh yeah, and there's no dipstick for that, of course, and so it's just a matter of, well, either I and I don't think I was carrying a whole lot of tools with me back then either at that point, and it's one of the things. Well, I know I don't have what I need to fix it. I don't have a replacement seal, let alone everything to do that with, and I don't have the means of popping the plugs and putting a finger in the transfer case and seeing if I have any fluid left in there. So, all right, let's just rock this until the wheels fall off and let's try and make it home. And that's exactly what happened there. But yeah, wow. I'd absolutely forgotten about that until just now. Good times.
All right, Josh. Well, fun so far. I really enjoy hearing the audio and going back and remembering the stuff that we've talked about, because we've had so many shows together, so many episodes. And this is a great opportunity for the new audience, because we've gotten new people. There's been hundreds or thousands of new people that have never heard the original episode.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Chris was talking to a gentleman yesterday, trying to get him lined up for an interview. And he had to tell me that this gentleman was on xjtalk.com before the episode started.
Oh, wow.
And he has listened from episode 1. He made it all the way up to the Jerry Huber interview that came out 2-3 weeks ago. So he says he's a little behind.
Wow.
So this guy has listened to over 1,400
He's doing pretty
episodes.
good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's fun to go back, and you never know what you're going to hear. You never know what comedy you're going to hear. You never know what information that you may not know. And especially for you people that want more XJ Talk stuff, more XJ Talk. These are perfect, because that's all we really talked about on the first episode. So go back to, just go to YouTube, look for episode 43, EP.43, and then have a listen to this full episode. Okay, let's get over to our next clip, Josh.
But it's very expensive. I think it was $475 after I sent back all the other parts, the cores.
Yeah, 'cause they do require a core.
This is the SYE from Tom Woods,
kit, don't they?
Yes. Well, it's interesting, because I spoke with one of the people there at Tom Woods, and he said that you would be really surprised how many people do not send the cores. So they literally are sitting on $400 worth of refund. So
yeah, because you'll be out of pocket, about $800 some odd initially, but you get a big chunk of that back sending in the core.
I didn't check, but I believe they're still selling the SYEs, and this isn't like the hack and tap. This is a genuine replacement shaft, and really doing what I consider the SYE on the. Mine was a 242, but they also sell the ones for the 243. But actually having a legitimate SYE modification.
Yeah, I believe this was for the 242 that we were talking about in context there. So the selectable full-time all-wheel drive for that. Yeah, that was and I do believe they are still selling that as well. It's been a little while since I've been on the website, but it is still a transfer case that is in vehicles, and I would imagine that Tom Woods still has inventory. But yeah, that's one of those things to where you send them in the output shaft out of your transfer case. They take that in as core, and they send you one that has been professionally machined and modified, that will then drop back into your transfer case and give you what you need as far as a slip yoke or a mount for a slip yoke.
All right, Josh, let's get on to our next Josh clip from episode 43. Again, you can listen or watch this on YouTube. Just go to our YouTube channel, jeeptalkshow.com/YT as in YouTube, and do a search for EP.43.
Yeah, because the stock setup, it does. I mean, the stock setup makes it so that the output shaft is essentially hollow. Going right into the transfer case, and your drive line slides in and out of that, and you lose that drive line stock.
Explaining slip yoke eliminator, or how the slip yoke works.
You're going to be leaking fluid all day long, and that's not only bad for the engine, but it's also bad for the transfer case. Rather, it's also bad for the environment. You don't need to be spilling fluid.
Oh, the environment can suck it.
Yep. So with the slip yoke eliminator, it seals that transfer case up button tight, and worst case scenario, you do break a drive shaft. You're not going to be stranded, and you're not going to be leaking fluids.
Right. And even if you're not a big environmentalist, I'm not big on the environment, but I am big on
I haven't
closing
changed.
trails.
Yes. Yes.
And that's always been my narrative is that it does get trails closed. It's not a good idea to dump stuff out in the environment. But you know, the earth has been through so much. I don't think our little trail of transmission fluid is going to make that big of a difference. And I say collectively it makes a difference. So I'll give you that, but I still say we're overly sensitive to damaging the environment. My opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that certain regions are a lot more sticklers about how and where and what and all that sort of stuff. And so it's one of those things to where maybe you've got somebody who's on the trail on every single trail system. You've got some sort of official that's out there and they're looking for that sort of stuff. Not quite as like that out here. I mean, yes, I have been talked to before about vehicle maintenance and, hey, it looks like your vehicle's parked here and there's a puddle underneath of you. Something you can do about that, maybe. So
that was the last guy that was here. It was another XJ, not mine.
Yeah, right. But this was back when I was president of the Northwest chapter of NAXJA, North American XJ Association, and we had a couple of individuals who had gotten multiple talkings to from the people up on the trail, and we put together spill kits for the club members.
Right.
And it was one of those things to where it was almost part of the necessary gear. If you're going to come wheeling with our group, you need to have a spill kit. And honestly, it was just a couple of the spill pads, some rubber gloves, and some kitty litter. Really simple to put together, all fit into a gallon bag, rolled it up nice and easy, fits in just about anything, anywhere in the Jeep. And as we all know, Jeeps are a premium for extra space. So if you can have something as viable and as useful as a spill kit on board that doesn't take up more room than a rolled up towel, then that's something that you should maybe consider about having as part of your regular kit.
So Josh, we haven't done this before, and I haven't talked to you about it yet. So feel free to tell me what your opinion is, but I was thinking we ought to do a little bonus segment for our viewers on YouTube. So exclusively on,
I love the bonus content.
Bonus content YouTube. So look for that. I don't know how it will show up because this is just something I've been thinking about. But I think we should talk about spill kits, making your own. What you put into a spill kit, and we'll the idea. We'll see if it happens, and I think we can make it happen. Just look for it after this episode, and again, it'll be on YouTube. A little bonus content there. We may put that on our Patreon as well.
Yeah, I like that idea.
All right, so let's jump over to our next clip. I need to set these things up so they change color or something. I'm having too much fun talking to you, so I think this is the clip.
Yeah, because the stock setup, it does.
It is not.
The stock setup makes it so that the output shaft is essentially hollow.
All right. Well, that's okay. Now I know where I am. So here we go. I believe this is the first clip where we have Dan from the 4x4 podcast, because episode 43 is an interview with Dan. And I bet you, I need to go check it, but I bet you this is the first time we had an interview with Dan. And I bet it is before the 4x4 podcast started.
First off, Dan, is it hot out there?
Oh,
it's been a very nice day. Today, I think it may have just barely broke 90 degrees.
I don't remember where he is. I think he's I think he was out there in the desert at this
nice
time.
Hot wind.
I call that the blow dryer.
Yeah, it's like sticking your head in front of a blow dryer. That's really all it is. You can't even cool off.
Yeah.
But now I think it's cooled off to about 80 degrees, 82. Feels nice.
Well, it's the differences that you notice. If it's like 3 inches from the surface,
Josh, I think that the 4x4 podcast has faded. I don't think that it's they're doing any new episodes. The website is still up. They still got hundreds or thousands of episodes that you can go and listen to. So I recommend going over that. It'd be funny if we could get a bunch of people to go over and check out the 4x4 podcast, and Dan would look at it and go, "What the hell?"
Where'd all these downloads come from? Yeah, just out of the blue.
Well, there's so much content out there. There's so much content from the XJ Talk show and the Jeep Talk show. that people, they love the show, but just the idea of going back, sometimes you can't even figure out how to go back and listen. All right, Josh. So a little more Dan, the 4x4 podcast with this clip.
And as I told you in the email, I did want to thank you very much for your service to the country. It's very
Dan is in the Army. My favorite thing was when he became a captain, because I could call him Captain Dan.
Or now how they were treated, and I'm glad to see that both political parties are trying to treat our soldiers, at least verbally, they're trying to treat them right. I don't necessarily think that cutting military funding and stuff is a good thing, but there you go.
Yeah, it is totally my pleasure.
So that was really cool. I always try to thank our military personnel for their service, and Dan has done a lot of it. He's done a lot of training of troops as well. And I just got to mention that Dan
is career military.
Oh, absolutely. I just got to mention that Dan sent me a flag and a certificate from one of his bases, and I think it was Iraq. A base in Iraq that had
super cool.
Had 9/11 debris set up next to the flagpole. They put that up there so that the base commander had that there, or maybe it was higher, to show the Army personnel what they were fighting for in Iraq. So I have a flag signed by the base commander, the certificate.
So cool.
That Dan sent that to me, and I love that. I mean, there's actually an episode, I don't remember which one it is, but there's actually an episode that I talk about that in the show, and I tear up because it means so much to me. It wasn't requested. It was just something Dan sent to me. And I've got it in a nice box, display case with the certificate and the folded flag, and it's in my living room. So I'd kind of like to put it in a safe deposit box, because if there was a fire at the house, I'd lose it.
Yeah, that's something you definitely want to hold on to and keep safe. That is one of those keepsakes for sure.
Josh, I can't remember. Did you ever do anything with Dan on the 4x4 podcast? Were you ever part of that show, an interview or anything? I thought you were.
I can't remember. I think we did do an interview once, but there was one time where Dan and I actually got to meet in person. He was coming down, I think, from Alaska, and he was cutting through Oregon on his way to California, and he made a small detour to make it into my town to where we could actually meet up, because at that time we had known each other, been talking through the podcast for several years. And it was one of those things where, hey, we kind of have a lot of similar build going on, because his wheeler and daily driver was an XJ as well. And that's what he was transporting and moving his entire family in, along with an off-road trailer that I believe he built from scratch.
Oh, he did.
And that was a big part of, that was a part of his podcast as well. The building of that trailer, very purpose built, intended to not only be a part of his wheeling adventures, but this was also intended to help him move from up north down south. And so there was a lot of considerations that went into that. And I think he and I had talked a number of times throughout that build about some things that he wanted to do, or things to think about as he was putting it together and whatnot. And so it was kind of cool to be able to be in person together and not only see, the fruitions of what he had built in person, but be able to chat and shake hands and, all that kind of stuff. And it's always interesting when you get to meet somebody face to face for the first time, but you've known them for years. You've talked to them 100 times, but you've never actually met them. And there was something similar that happened to you and I at the first Jeep Talk Show event in Texas. But yeah, Dan had came down with the whole family, got to meet him and his wife and kid and the dog and the whole clan, as it were. He didn't have a whole lot of time. We didn't get a chance to go have lunch or go wheeling or anything like that. It was kind of just a short pit stop. As I said, he was moving the family, so didn't have a whole lot of time. But that was the one thing that Dan and I did get to do together and in person, was a little meetup. And I can't remember. I know we at least took a couple pictures. That was about 7 phones ago. So I don't know where those pictures are. Somewhere in the cloud, probably on a hard drive somewhere in the computer or something like that. But yeah, those are good times. Again, something that I had kind of forgotten about until it comes up in conversation.
All right, Josh, on our recent roundtable episode, which is coming up in this episode here in just in a minute, we talked about what do you look for if you want to buy a used TJ? What do you have to go through? What are the steps that you have to go through? And I thought that was a great topic because there's people out there. We've got a couple of roundtable folks, regular roundtable folks, that have done massive builds Matt actually took an LJ. He found an LJ. He's got it on coilovers. He's got it on 38s. He's got, I think, tons front and rear. It's an amazing build. And then Rick in Arkansas has done something similar with, he actually used a couple of Dana 44s from a Gladiator. And I think he's got 38s on his. I think he did coilovers as well, but the sad thing about both those TJ builds, which are awesome, or LJ and TJ build, which is awesome, the builds are awesome, but the sad part of it is they're both black, and it's just so sad to see an otherwise beautiful Jeep.
How dare you?
Rick's is kind of black and silver. He's got a lot of Genrite add-ons to it. So what do you think? What do you have to do if you're somebody that's in the market for a TJ? Maybe you're just in the market for a good off-road rig, and you're looking at the prices of TJs. And TJ is an excellent platform to build off of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, the TJ is definitely one of those that's going to go down in history as probably one of the best Jeeps that they ever made. Now, there is some Easter egg considerations, if you will, some not common knowledge that kind of comes with selecting a TJ that some people may or may not know about. And obviously, when you're going to be looking into buying something like an off-road rig, a purpose-built rig or something that you want to build up to do something specific, there's going to be a lot of considerations involved. You're going to need to do some homework. You're going to need to do a little bit of research and stuff. And as you delve deeper and deeper into finding out what makes a good choice for an off-road rig and those sort of things, you'll maybe fall into the category of, well, let's start looking at TJs. And one of the biggest things that I would think that a lot of people don't know about when it comes to looking at a used TJ is one of those things that tends to pop up with some of the older rigs that not a whole lot of people know about, and that is a little bit of rust in the frame. And that can be a big time deal breaker. Oh, yeah. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, some of the TJs that come in some regions, the frame in itself had some spots in it that were known to trap water. And obviously if you get water and debris, mud, dirt, silt, all that kind of stuff that comes with driving a rig, both on road and off road, you get that moisture trapped in the frame. Well, guess what's going to happen? Water and metal don't mix too well, especially when it's not protected. And frame rails generally are just bare steel. They may have a light coat of paint on the outside, but certainly nothing on the inside. And as that water gets trapped, you can actually get frame rust on the TJs in specific areas. It's in towards the rear of the vehicle. And right up by where the suspension mounts would be, this can cause some serious structural damage that you may not know about until you actually get into your build and start doing suspension modifications and discover that the frame is seriously compromised, which can obviously ruin a build. Can ruin the vehicle. One, it makes it unsafe. Two, it makes it to where you may not be able to build it. And three, well, it's a very expensive repair. At that point, you can look at significant amounts of money for repair or even replacement at that point. And it's a body off type of repair, meaning you've got to take the tub off the frame. The frame has to get stripped down, and you need to do some serious welding or replacing the whole thing altogether. So it's one of those those things to where, obviously, if you're going to be buying any used vehicle, you want to crawl around it, you want to crawl underneath of it, you want to inspect it really good. But there are specific points to look at when you're looking at a used TJ, especially if you're going to be doing an off-road build. And that's one of those things where just a little bit of research will save you a ton of money downstream as you get into building your first or second off-road rig.
Yep. And we're going to jump over to the roundtable segment right now and see what the roundtable folks, the Zoom people, as they like to call themselves, and see what they have to think about buying a used TJ.
So we just had a big debate on it, big discussion, and I actually put all this stuff, all the information on both Jeeps and the one was a 97, the other one was what, 2004.
Something like that, yeah.
The black one was a 2004. The red one was a 97. And when I put all the information into Copilot, so does it work? And I put the pictures that were posted. You know, initially it was all about the black Jeep, but then when I started posting all the pictures, it dug in and said, you know, everything looks like the 97 red Jeep's a lot better option. And it gave pretty good reasons why.
Yeah, I missed the 97 detail because my 97 I lemon lawed because it kept, I think it's through the front vent on the cowl, water would leak into the passenger side. Yeah. And 7 times in the first year, I took it to Jeep to fix it, and it never got fixed. So I ended up lemon lawing it.
So I figured that if we talked about what do you check for on a used TJ before buying, I figured all you salt belt people would be saying rust,
frame,
which is, I think, a very a good thing to check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and absolutely. It's the frame that you have to check. I'm sorry, because other things can rust, but a few things will put you in a ditch, like a broken frame.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it made me start thinking, too, because I loaded all the pictures from the postings into Copilot. I said, you know, it's very easy that these pictures themselves were AI'd.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing what you can do. You can make something look a lot better. It's the original picture, but you can make it look a lot better. Mm-hmm. So do you guys see, I never have to deal with any rust concerns down here, unless for some reason the vehicle came from up north or one of the places where they use a lot of salt. So I would think that there's some tricks, like you take a nice screwdriver with you, so that you can try poking on the frame.
Tapping on things and listen,
straight hammer, ball peen hammer, man. Mm-hmm. Start tapping those key points.
Do you, if anybody has been through that, do you talk to the owner about it before you start beating on the Jeep? Because that might save you a lot of time, especially if they know it's an issue.
Yeah, I haven't done it, so. Well, this Jeep apparently...
Or will they let you damage their vehicle if there is rust in places? Go poking around with tools.
Yeah. Well, this one came from South Carolina. The guy got it from South Carolina. He bought it for his daughter for school, but it turns out it just wasn't big enough for her and friends, and she wanted something normal. He sealed the frame. He put Eastwood. He used the Eastwood rust sealer on everything. Rhino-lined the tub under the carpeting.
Oh, that's good.
There's no surface rust anywhere. The only surface rust I saw were on the stupid Nerf bars on the step bars, and even then it was just small little superficial stuff. Like it was just starting. Lower quality steel. No, it's really clean.
How important? I mean, I think I always think that a 4.0 is the only engine to buy. I think other people have different opinions on that, but whenever if it has a 4.0 in it, if it's 125,000, 175, I don't consider that a big issue. Of course, you have to listen to the engine and see how it sounds when it's running.
Well, after having two 4.0s, one in my XJ and one in the WJ, you won't convince me that it's not worth having a 4.0.
Although I will tell you that my current 3.6 has more miles than my 4.0 had before it blew. So things happen.
Well, it's saying something when you can blow up a 4.0. I'm not saying you can't. It's just unusual. I mean, they even had problems getting them to blow up with the cash for clunkers.
Yep.
Is it? Because all of you 4.0 people go, I've never blown up my 4.0. It's got 400,000 miles, but I've rebuilt it 4 or 5 times.
Right.
Like,
I blew up. No. I blew up my 4.0 with 6,000 miles on it.
but what I'm saying is all the 4.0 nut huggers are like, it's got 400,000 miles. Okay, how many times have you built it? 7.
Yeah, well, no, this was 6,000 original new miles that I blew up.
Yeah.
There was a casting. I was driving down the highway. All of a sudden, boom! I'm like, what the f***? As I coasted over the side, totally dead. You know, and I call the dealer. Hey, I'm bringing this thing in, man. I don't know what's going on. Can I get a loaner? They go, nah, you didn't buy the extended warranty. I get a page back when we had pagers. So I call in. I'm like, we're going to give you a loaner. I'm like, what do you mean you give me a loaner? He goes, there's a hole the size of a grapefruit in your block.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what? He goes, we think it was a casting defect. I'm like, all right.
So
Yeah, mine developed a knock that I wasn't going to get fixed because I needed a bigger vehicle at the time anyway. But it developed a knock that got progressively worse, and then it just knocked one too many times, and the engine seized, and I may have thrown a rod or done something, but ended up selling it to the tow truck driver. In hindsight, for a lot cheaper than I could have gotten elsewhere these days, but
Yeah. No, yeah, I think to your answer, I think the 4.0 is a huge factor. My son's got that 1990 YJ with the 4-cylinder in it. It's just a dog.
I think if you have the automatic, the 4-cylinder is absolutely worthless. As long as you have a manual.
No, he's got a manual.
Well, then
that's
I don't know what
interesting.
the problem is.
No, I don't.
Well, part of the problem is driving 35s.
right, and he probably didn't re-gear. Could be.
Yeah.
I have a manual 4-cylinder on 37s factory gears, and I keep up with everybody.
As long as they're
It's
not
only
doing
45
faster than
miles an
50,
hour.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't drive it on the road, but that's not the point.
Oh, he's, yeah.
We were just talking about real Jeep stuff.
Well, he's coming. He's talking about moving back in December when he graduates. And I feel bad, but I'm like, dude, we don't have room to keep that Jeep. You know what I mean? And I hate him selling a 1990 with no rust on it.
Does he have another car there, or?
You know, he's got the Ford Fusion, but he's moving home because he's graduating. So he's talking about coming home.
Exactly. The Fusion's got to go.
He's got to drive the YJ up here to wherever he gets a job. He goes 45 miles an hour. He'll die up here. People will kill him.
You just gotta, take the side roads. That's all.
That's right.
There ain't no side
It's
roads
Jeep
out here,
thing.
man.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to do it, but I'm like, dude, the problem is I'd have 5 cars here. I've got a 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway. I'm in a suburbia. I don't have a place to keep the YJ.
Do you have a backyard?
First world problems.
I'm not allowed to build a shed in my backyard.
Well, you don't need to build a shed. You just need to park a vehicle behind the house.
That's definitely in the HOA covenants as well. I can promise you that.
Rent a storage spot.
Why am I renting for it? He's gonna have money.
See if
a storage spot.
See if Travis is interested in buying it.
Oh, good God. Yeah.
Well, you say it doesn't do more than 45 miles an hour?
If it had a 4.0, I'd be more willing to entertain it, but it's just not. Yeah.
All right. For the folks that joined, we're talking about how do you check a TJ, a used TJ before buying it. We've talked about the rust, and I think we've also indirectly talked about the engine and the transmission. So anything else come to mind, or you can add to that?
I'll say it's going to vary a little bit on the year mileage or year model. So they did do a slight revamp in 04 where they changed the back seat. They changed the 4-cylinder motor option. They went to a 6-speed transmission, whereas, like I said, I have a 4-cylinder with the manual with the 6-speed. My first gear was a 461 to 1.
Oh, it's tight.
So it's a real low gear. So that made up for, as much as everybody says the 4.0 makes a ton of torque, it was only 40 pounds of torque that it made more than the 4-cylinder. Like, that's not a huge jump. So if you had the manual, especially in one of the later TJs where you had the 2.4 instead of 2.5, you could get away with a lot more because you had the double overdrive and you had that really deep first gear. So, and then there were some other little oddities, like if you have kids that you're taking with you, you know, and I forget, this changed either 03 or 04. They added the latch system, with, if anyone has younger kids, that's the little metal bar system that you can lock in car seats and stuff. You know, a lot of people don't care about that for the off-road vehicle, but if you are somebody taking young kids, that, you know, may matter for you.
Right.
So that's one of the big ones. There were a couple other little things, but those were the big ones that like stood out for me. Other than the rest that was mentioned, the motor, like I said, mine keeps up with all the 4.0s. It keeps up with all the JKs. Off-road
on the trail. Yeah.
I don't think the longevity on the 4-cylinder is as good as the 6-cylinder. That's my problem with it. This is my personal choice. I would not have a 4-cylinder.
But like I said, all these 4-liter guys that have, you know, 400,000 miles, but they've rebuilt it 5 times. Well, it blew up 5 times. That's, if you rebuilt it, it blew up. Like it might have not have blown up, but it was gone. You had to rebuild it. That's a blow up.
We got a 2.5 in the YJ and a 4.0 in the TJ. And the TJ was fine until I went to 35s, still on the factory gears. And it doesn't, like the 4.0 with 35s, factory gears, doesn't get up as quick as the 2.5 on 33s with factory gears.
I think that's the automatic versus the manual, right?
Yeah.
And I said that earlier, like with the later TJs, you get that 461-1 for your first gear. So you've got this super deep first gear. So you can take off really well. And I mean, you know, we joke about 45, 50 miles an hour. My TJ will do 70. It doesn't like it, but it'll do it. I can run, you know, come on, baby, come on. Well, I live off of this, you know, a 4-lane state highway. Like I live in a rural area that you leave my house.
Do you go straight onto the highway from your driveway?
Yes, you do. Pretty much. Like you leave my street and you're on the highway. But you can do, like I've driven my Jeep to work a couple of times. And like I drove it where I work now, it's not as far, but I drove it to work about 35 miles each way and then drove it during my work day. And it did fine. Like, was I the fastest thing out there? Absolutely not. I just had to make sure that I was, you know, giving it all the beans all the way down the on-ramp so that I could at least be, you know, 50 getting onto the highway. And then I cruised about 60, you know, in the right lane. I wasn't in a hurry. I knew what I was capable of. You know, I wasn't dumb about it, but it did it. And it was fine with 60. It just doesn't like getting above, you know, 70. At 70, it's like, no, I'm unhappy. You're going way too hard.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with the 2.5s. I mean, they work. I mean, that's, you know, it's back in the day, right? Ford put a 5.0 in a Mustang and they put a 2.3 4-cylinder in a Mustang.
Yeah,
it worked.
Turbo.
Not mine didn't. Mine was just 2.3.
Oh, you had a non-turbo.
Yeah. So I mean, it worked. You just couldn't get there fast, but it was efficient.
I will say too, my sister did have a non-turbo in like 88 or 89, and she got multiple, you know, 80, 85 mile an hour speeding tickets in that car.
Yeah, it would go the speed. It just took you a minute to get there.
Yeah.
God, that picture creeps me out.
Which, I mean, and if we're comparing like a TJ at this point, the newest TJ is almost 20 years old. If you took a high performance car 20 years ago, most of them barely make the horsepower that your average commuter car makes now.
Correct.
So
yeah, I mean, what are the TJs? 115 maybe?
Well, I mean, a Corolla makes over 300 today. So
yeah, man, a factory Civic or something like that, it's an easy $190.
So, I mean, like you take a Toyota Corolla, which is your last forever commuter car, makes 300 horsepower today. That's what a Camaro SS made 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So
being realistic, like you got to be realistic about what you're buying for its age and what it can do. Like that's just, you got to have a solid thought process when you go to look at them.
So the Jeep 4 liter is actually 190 horsepower. The 2.4, this was in 2006. The 2.4 is 147 horsepower.
What was the torque?
Torque for the 4-cylinder, 160 foot-pounds, 165 at 4,000. 4-liter, 235 at 3,200.
Yeah.
Where are you getting those numbers?
RPM.
I looked it up at one point.
Gemini. Maybe I should use Grok and ask.
I looked it up not that long ago, not using AI, just using like Google and checking multiple sites, and it was not that far off. It was like 40, 50 foot-pounds. It really wasn't that big of a change. And if you could get the manual with the low gear,
let's see.
Now I will give the six cylinder with the 4.0, you're going to get a lower RPM range because that's how straight sixes work. You know, like I have a Cummins in my pickup truck. One of the great deals about those is they make torque down low, which diesels do, but when you have a straight 6, it makes it even lower.
Never heard that before. That's interesting.
I'm pulling up the factory sales brochure.
That a straight 6 makes more torque down low?
I mean, I knew that it did. I didn't know it made more than a diesel did, though.
No. I'm saying if you take, like I have a Cummins with a straight 6-cylinder diesel. So diesels already make torque down low. But if you took my 6-cylinder diesel versus like a V8, like a Power Stroke or a Duramax diesel, my peak torque will still be 400 or 500 RPM lower because I have an inline 6 versus a V or a 4-cylinder style diesel.
Right.
It's just one of those. A 6-cylinder's nature is to make torque better in a lower RPM.
Well, I know whenever they, I guess it was AMC, went from that Chevrolet engine they had in there, V6, I think, to the straight 6, the tractor engine, things improved drastically for the Jeeps.
It made the torque lower in the RPM range. I mean, and that's it. It's even with a V6 versus an inline 6, a V6's peak torque is probably still going to be in the 3,000 to 4,000 range. In a straight 6, you can get it closer to the 2 to 3 range. Mm-hmm. It's just the nature of the inline 6. Ford had I think it was a 4.2 liter they put in their F-150s, and they were a torque monster, like an absolute monster, because it was an inline 6, and they geared them low in the transmission. They still had a fairly, light rear gear so that you could drive them on the road. But just with that inline 6, it made so much torque, and then they'd gear it right, and they were better towing than the V8 trucks.
So let me ask you this. I think one of the things that I would be on the lookout for, because it kind of happened when we got my my oldest daughter a TJ. She's got a 2005. If it comes with I can't remember what it's called, the cloth top, the soft top. Thank you. That the soft top can be of not the best quality, depending on how it was kept and stored and taken care of. And I mean, it's easy enough to buy a replacement, but have you guys priced soft tops for anything? But in this case, specifically the TJ, I think the one we got for my wife's 2003 was around $650, but that was probably 12 years ago.
So I paid $250 for mine about 3 years ago. Now, mind you, it's an Amazon special, and I think you set your expectations with, it's an Amazon special. But I've had it for 3 years. I haven't had any issues.
It's not a best top, obviously.
No. Like I said, you got to set your expectations with what you spend. I would expect way more out of a best top at its price point than I would my Amazon special. But
at least you have a top. I mean, even if you got to buy it 3 times, you still wouldn't be spending as much money as what it is cost for a best top.
Yeah, I could buy 3 or 4 for a best top.
You have to look at, though, too, is where you're at. Okay, up here, that twill top in the winter does me just fine. I'm not going to go cheap on a cheap top because I need the insulation.
Oh no! If you can afford it, I think best top is always the way to go.
Well, I don't disagree with knowing your location at all either. Like, 99% of the time, I don't run a top. I use my top more for storage than I do for actually driving. I will say it holds in heat really well when we go out in the winter and wheel, but I'm also wheeling in, 20 to 30 degrees. I'm not getting into the negatives and stuff. So it may be way worse than that. It may not work in that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, if you're in a YJ or a TJ, it doesn't matter what top you're running if you're not running carpet, because you can just get all your heat from your floor pan.
You're not wrong.
That's for sure.
And if you're missing, like I put an aftermarket shifter on my transfer case, those 4 little holes where the factory shifter bolted up let a lot of heat through.
Oh my God.
Especially for little 1/2-inch holes.
Oh, they're brutal. The YJ with the 2.5, my Lord, man, that thing gets stupid hot.
Well, I think if you're in the market for one, you need to know what you're doing too. Like, are you just going to throw 33s on it and go run fire roads? Or are you looking for something you're going to build? Because, like, if you're going to build it, buy the 4-cylinder with, the Dana 30 and 35, and who cares? Because you're going to change it all anyway.
But as long as you start with a solid frame, right?
Yeah, you got to have a solid frame. I completely agree. That's the big issue with TJs. But if you're not going to do a whole lot to it, then consider spending more money for the Rubicon. But right now, Rubicon TJs pull a ridiculous premium for a good, clean one.
People that wanted TJs 30 years ago, they go, finally, I'm going to get me a Rubicon.
Yeah, and for what they cost now, you could step into a clean JK. Like,
we had a guy here
comparable TJ to comparable, it's a TJ, but like even an LJ, you can step into a 4-door JK for less.
Oh yeah, for an LJ, absolutely.
Well, that's because it's a JK.
I mean, I'm talking like you can get into a Rubicon JK for less than a clean LJ.
I could buy a built JK for less than an LJ. Like I could buy a JK on tons in 40s for less than a clean LJ.
Yeah.
What are they? Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead.
What are I know the LJs here are running about 20,000.
It depends on condition. I've seen them as low as 10 for really rough, and I've seen them as high as 35 for really clean.
I saw one for 42.
Was it built?
No, it was a Rubicon. It had lift on there, but it looked like it was an easy build. It wasn't like something that actually went off road.
I think that's somebody being a little bit over the top.
Oh yeah,
clean LJ. I'm seeing them. You'll find them in that 12 on the low end up to 18. Not a Rubicon. Rubicon, bump it up. You're going to start looking at 22. But I spend more time on Facebook. If I got paid by the hour for the amount of time I spend on Facebook, I wouldn't need to be on Facebook Marketplace.
I think that's and I get that the LJ was a lower production model, but when you're investing your dollar, unless you just absolutely want an LJ, you can get a lot more for your dollar in a JK or a JKU. Yeah. I mean, and I like LJs, don't get me wrong. But for me, it's always, I hate to say return on investment because it's not return on investment. You're going to lose your ass.
Oh, absolutely.
But what you're getting for your dollar, you're going to do way better in a JK or JKU than you would an LJ. In the TJs, you could still find some deals. And it seems like the market softened up a little bit in the last year. Like they were really skyrocketing where the 4-cylinders were pulling over 10K. And it has softened up quite a bit where you can get into a 4-liter Rubicon for, 10 to 12. That's still good condition, clean one. But, and low mileage, not a high mileage one. I've seen 50, 60,000 mile TJs for 12, 13,000. But I think that LJ, there's something about those that those people go crazy. I like them, but I don't $10,000 more than what I can buy a TJ for like them.
If I would have known what an LJ was when I bought mine, I would want the LJ just from all the headaches with rear suspension and pinion angles and.
Well, you remember when the LJ came out, nobody wanted them because they were ugly as fuck.
Yeah,
like everybody thought they looked awful.
It does. They look really strange.
Yeah,
they look strange. They're not. Jeeps aren't pretty vehicles in the first place.
No Jeep is pretty.
No.
Well, no, but like when the LJ came out, everybody looked at it and goes, "That's wrong." Like it was the proportions weren't right. Jeeps had always been fairly square. Like it didn't matter what angle you looked at them for, it looked like a cube.
Yeah.
And then that LJ came out, and they're like, "That's not right. That's a rectangle, not a cube." And then the proportions for the drop off angle and all of that, everybody just looked at them and was like, "That's terrible." I remember the first time I saw an LJ, I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw a Scrambler in person. Scramblers are ugly as hell.
Yeah, we're the same way with the 4-doors. Like, we're all we got is 2 doors, but the 4-doors to me look goofy as well. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, they're good for what they are when you need the room. They just they do.
I want to start hating.
Well, hey, I'm not hating. This is the Jeep Talk Show. We're talking Jeeps.
That's right. I would prefer to have a 2-door Gladiator. I think a 2-door Gladiator would be snazzy.
Have you seen the Scrambler?
I think so.
The new Scrambler. They're going to put we already checked that box. We're going to get one when they come out. But they're running the square headlights and the 392s.
I'll believe it when I see one.
Well, they're supposed to be 27 or 28.
Is it an IFS rig?
I was just going to say it's IFS.
No. They were really talking about that.
Oh, no, I'm serious.
Jeep wants to build a desert run style pre-runner type rig with IFS.
Oh, go buy a Raptor.
I got to agree with that. Just because of the size of a Raptor, you're going to be able to have better drooping suspension, which in the desert at high speeds, that's what you need. The proportions work better in a Raptor than they do.
I do not need a Jeep going high speed in the desert.
If the suspension's right, it'll be fun.
The Scramblers ought to be fun if they do them right, because it's supposed to be a 2-door. So it'll be a 2-door, like kind of extended cab with a bed on it. So it'll be pretty neat.
Now, I would not mind seeing a police chase where the high speed off road IFS suspension Jeep took off road. Catch me if you can, Hopper.
I think it depends on where you're at. Because as much as, I know you're in Houston, Tony. Houston's got some really fast police cars that a lot of people don't know about.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know they've got a Lambo. I know that. They've got a Viper. We have a Viper and a completely unmarked Camaro. Like, the lights are in where the sun visors are supposed to be, and that's the only lights. Like, I know there's a lot of cars like that in Texas. So if you go somewhere out in the desert, the idea that they don't have something that could go through the desert seems kind of...
I would be really surprised. But that would be a chase would be worth watching. That would be cool.
It would be cool. But, like you think about the Rubicon, all of the Forest Service and sheriffs up there, they had built Jeeps because they have to go through the Rubicon, right? So the idea that there's not some sort of pre-runner style pickup for the desert areas is, I think, a little naive.
Maybe I'm not informed on this, but I don't know why emergency groups, fire, the police, all of them, EMS, don't have a Jeep, an off-road capable Jeep lifted, so that when the water's high or they need to get to somebody that may be a little bit off-road and maybe wet, I think they all need to have at least one modified Jeep.
I could tell you why.
They have MRAPs.
Well,
they've been picked up. Sorry.
A lot of them have picked up MRAPs, you're right. But then there's also cargo issues with the Jeep. So a lot of, like we were watching Shark Week earlier, you go to the beach, everybody's got pickups that are slightly lifted, like TRD Pro Tacomas, or I haven't seen any JTs, but the bed on a JT is so short that I don't think it works for it. But like, I know we have F-250s out here where I live in, cow country, because they need them to get through pastures and fields. So it just depends on where you are in the country.
You can also evacuate someone on a backboard in a pickup truck a lot easier than anything else too.
Yeah.
Daytona Florida police have Jeeps for the beach.
I bet they got pickup trucks in the lifeguard EMS too, though.
Yeah, they do. I don't know what the purpose is in the Jeep other than just maybe the 4-wheel drive and just for the beach. But yeah, I don't think you're going to haul anybody in it or do any emergency stuff. But they do have some.
A few of the sheriff's departments out here, not out here, out in Colorado, have Wrangler 4-door Wranglers they use that are pretty decently built to go back on some of the trails and stuff.
Oh, Estes Park, Colorado. The police department has a Hummer out near Rocky Mountain National Park.
Wow. Wonder what the point in that is.
Well, if it's an H1, it makes sense.
No, it is an H1.
Yeah, it's surplus.
Yeah.
Because they get them from like National Guard sell-off. So National Guard, so they have their auction. State sells it off. And in most places, the way it works is a municipality can buy it. Like I can't go to a state auction selling National Guard equipment and just buy the National Guard equipment. It's got to go to a municipality first.
Well, that's because of your record.
That probably doesn't hurt anything either. I won't lie. Yeah, maybe.
So
if I drive like this in a Geo Metro, what the fuck would I do in a Hummer? Huh?
So let me wrap up this TJ conversation. We talked about what to check if you're interested in buying a used TJ. Let me ask this question: is it a good idea to buy a used TJ? I know that Kevin had said that depending on the price, it might be better to get a JK because you get a little more bang for the buck. But do you guys think a TJ is still a viable off-road rig that would be fun to have and build up and take off-road?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
There's a certain element to having a smaller vehicle off-road of more pucker factor, I think, right? Whereas the JK's got the more stout, especially JKU, it's got a more stout footprint.
Wider and longer, yeah.
Yeah, that little TJ just enhances the pucker factor a little more, I think. Right?
But it goes beyond that. I can take the red brick in places without as much effort as some of the JKs and Gladiators I wheel with.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in wooded areas when there's a lot of trees. It's a lot easier to navigate around all that stuff.
Out at Hidden Falls, one of the trails we did when I was down there, I was not even where I was supposed to be, but it didn't matter because I just turned and went through the trees. You were behind me in Cheap Talk Show Gladiator, Tony, or in front of me. No, you were in front of me, and you had to go around some trees that I could fit through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Not the trip that trip that Bob was on, but the one that I was at there when we went through some trees after watching everybody try to climb that hard waterfall. I was able to zip through like the straightest line versus a lot of the JKs and JTs were like, or JLUs, JKUs were having to like make 4-point turns to make some of the stuff. And I was just, zip, zip, zip because I didn't have the wheelbase to get up that I need, or I didn't have the wheelbase they did. So I was able to make sharper turns and not have to worry about where I was swinging in the back or in the middle because there's no middle.
Yeah. I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's a listener, viewer that comes here on the roundtable quite often, but I remember Chuck trying to get up. Well, I think it was TRO. He was trying to get up over that ledge and he couldn't make it in that scrambler. He tried hard. And then the other guy in the TJ just walked right up it. It's such a amazing thing to see. It was just so easy. Everybody was having problems with TRO. That I think it's when you leave the end of TRO.
I've done that at Barnwell where I've been out there with 20 JKUs and XJs and they're struggling with something, and I'm like,
get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
I got places to
I will
be.
say that on some of the really tall ledges, like out in Moab, Poison Spider, a couple of those, the JKs, even Dutch's LJ goes up it, and I get to it, and I'm on my back bumper looking straight up going, no, this is a recipe for going over backwards. I'm good.
Just coming down that drop on Steelbender, Bob, when you were behind after you came down after I did, I was watching. I'm like, oh, hell no. Where did I do that in a TJ?
Well, Bill, we were out on Fins and Things one year, and Bill had it was the first year he had his 2-door out there.
Yeah, I was.
And he went down something. You were with us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I followed him
and
right down.
He went down, and I lined up for it. And Bill's like, hang on a second. And he gets out and records it. And my front tires are over the edge. And I'm going, if Bill's getting out to record this as I do it, how dumb am I about to be?
Yeah, that was it.
If somebody says, wait, I need to video this.
Yeah. Wait, don't go yet. I need to get set up.
That's on the one where you could go, there's 3 paths to the left and 1 to the right.
Yeah. And he went down the steepest, and he was like, that was pucker factor.
I followed him, but I was puckering.
You know it's a serious trail when they say, let me get my camera set up and let me dial 911 on my phone.
Yeah.
Well, I went down that, and my bumper was straight down into the dirt. I actually got out and looked because I was sure I bent my license plate.
Well, I mean, that's part of this short two-door life. Like, I've lawn darted my Jeep in a creek. I've lawn darted my Razor. I've lawn darted a couple of different places, and that's just part of being short. You got to know, like, if you feel that back end start to come up, you need to hammer the throttle, because otherwise you're probably going over.
Yeah, get that power while the tires are still touching the ground. Absolutely. All right, so I think we've covered the TJ. I think everybody here either said TJ is a good Jeep to buy, and there's I think the thickness of the metal, including the frame, all the rest of that stuff, make it a good long-term Jeep as well, as long as you take care of it and make sure it doesn't have a lot of rust. Well, guys, I sure appreciate it, and maybe we got somebody out there that was thinking about a TJ, and they're looking at it a little more seriously now.
From the mind of Nikki G.
Hey, this is Nikki G. I just want to let you guys know that I used to work at a fire hydrant factory. Yeah, you couldn't park nowhere near the place. Didn't like that one. Try this one on for size. That bridge near my house was closed. Yeah, I can't get over it. And last but not least, I thought I heard my printer playing some music last night. Turned out it was just paper jamming. What can I say? It is what it is. All right, boys and girls, I'll chat at you later and have a good one. Bye.
All right, Josh, I hear you have another you nothing personal to you guys, but you. Go, take it, Josh.
Well, a lot of the people probably are thinking by now, holy Josh likes to drive fast all of the time. He's always talking about speed and people being in his way and stuff like that. Look, it's going to kind of follow with that common theme here. I am a bit of an aggressive driver. I drive just like I walk through the grocery store with purpose and determination. I have a place to go. I'm trying to get there. And if you're in my way, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. And this is one of these things, I'm sure we've all experienced this a million times before. You're stuck in a line of traffic or whatever. There's somebody in front of you. There's 8, 9 car lengths between them and the vehicle in front of it, and it keeps growing. And you're behind them for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and now suddenly there's a quarter-mile gap that's in front of this person, and you can't figure out why. Okay, look, I like to do 47 and a 35. Maybe that's just me. I'm typically going 5, 10, 15 miles over the speed limit just because I got a lead foot. It's the way I was raised. It's the way I grew up. It's the way I am. It's the way I drive. You don't like it? You. All right. So if you're one of these people that I'm behind you and I'm pushing you a little bit, maybe I'm crowding you a little bit, maybe I flash the lights a couple of times. Hey buddy, it's time to, push the skinny pedal, get out of the way. Okay. So let's say there's 2 lanes of traffic going on and same sort of thing going on. I move over to make that passing maneuver, start that passing maneuver. And you start speeding up by 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. You where was that gas pedal when you were 5 miles ago when I was stuck behind you doing 27 in a 35? Seriously, when you're doing 27 in a 45, I'm going to start honking my horn and flashing my lights. If you're an idiot that can't read the sign, and I'll do this, I'll point to the speed sign. Look, 4, 5, and you're doing 27. Move the out of the way. And now you're going to find your lead foot. You're going to find that skinny pedal. When I get up, next to you, I'm not going to flip you off. I'm not going to do any big aggressive maneuvers and try and, ram you off the road or anything like that. I may be off. I may be shaking my fist a little bit. I may look at you with a mean mug on my face. But look, you're the one that's part of the problem. You're going under the speed limit. I understand that people may be scared of other vehicles around them and whatnot. Maybe you just shouldn't drive, okay? Sell your car, take Uber. I don't give a shit. There's plenty of taxi services out there to begin with. So there's lots of ways for you to get from point A to point B, and going 15 miles an hour under the posted speed limit is not the way we do that, okay? So if somebody starts to pass you and you obviously have a lot of room in front of you to the next car, or you've been going under the speed limit, well, don't get off and suddenly trying to accelerate when somebody's trying to pass you. You're being a so you for going so slow under the speed limit, and then finally finding your acceleration when somebody or the entire lane of traffic starts passing you. You got 7 cars that are all honking at you. Maybe you're doing something wrong, Jeff. Okay, I'm getting a little heated here.
All right, Josh, another fun episode. It's great. I keep saying it's great to have you back here. You've been gone for so long. It's just nice being able to record and talk with you again. And hopefully our all of our viewers and listeners are liking it as well. Like I told you, we've had several people comment on, is Josh really back? Reminds me of the John Wick thing where he goes, yeah, I think I'm back.
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, so join us again next week.
Hey, speaking of XJs,
what's that? Oh, you see one?
Well, I just pulled into this park. I just pulled in this parking lot. Here, I'm just going to grab the camera here real quick.
Sure.
And can I switch the camera? I can switch the camera, and that's not switching the camera. Here, we'll look at it like that. There's a nice XJ build. He's got a decent anti-rock setup on there. Long arm kit. This looks like some flat fenders and stuff as well.
It's blue, right?
I'll take that XJ any day of the week.
Sure.
And it's blue. Yeah.
See if it's locked.
Say, who's this guy over here in this truck looking at my Jeep? That's funny stuff.
Well, I think a lot of us modified Jeep owners are used to people looking at our Jeeps. All right, Josh, let's wrap this up. We'll see you again next week. Thank you for being here with us, especially considering you have to do a job and make time to record stuff, which we really appreciate. All right, so
speaking of making time, Tony, I want to put a plug out there if I can. As we're kind of going back and revisiting some of these older episodes and reliving some of these moments and stuff. Just that first clip when somebody had called in with a question to the XJ Talk Show way back in the day, it had me thinking of, well, we've got the ability now for people to not only call into the show, not only leave a voicemail, but leave a video voicemail. And so let's say you're in the midst of a build right now, or there's something on your Jeep that you're thinking about, or maybe you're in the store and you're thinking about this particular kit or these particular shocks, or maybe those particular tires. Why not head over to xjtalk.com/voicemail? Do that right now while you're in doing whatever you're doing, and you can actually record a question with video for the show.
Maybe you can show what you're working on.
We can talk about it. We can show not only people that but also the entire world what you're working on, and we can talk about it and actually give you advice and comment, give our 2 cents about whatever it is, your build, the tires you're looking at, a piece of gear that you're questioning, or something like that. So get involved with the show, get involved with us, let us get involved in your Jeep world as you kind of incorporate your Jeep world in with our Jeep world. Let's all become happy Jeep world people together, huh? Yeah, JeepTalkShow.com/voicemail. We'll see you there.
Excellent. So are you ready to join the Jeep Talk Show crew? Become a Patreon subscriber today at thejtalkshow.com/contact and unlock exclusive perks while supporting the show. Keep the adventure rolling by leaving a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help grow the Jeep community. If you're watching the Jeep Talk Show on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Stay in the loop following us on social media and signing up for our newsletter for the latest Jeep news and must-attend events. Got a question or idea for our next episode? Send it our way to jeeptalkshow.com/contact. We say it several times so you'll remember it. Thanks for riding along, and let's hit the trail for more epic adventures. All right, Josh, I think it's time to do the bonus content that you can only find on YouTube and maybe Patreon. So you guys go find it now.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.
xjtalk.com-llc and the Jeep Talk Show podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host, guests, and contributors are their own and do not represent professional advice, endorsements, or recommendations. We strongly advise consulting a licensed or certified mechanic or automotive professional for any repairs, modifications, or maintenance to your vehicle. By listening to or using any information provided on this show, you assume full responsibility for your actions and any resulting consequences, including potential risks to safety, property, or legal compliance. The Jeep Talk Show and its affiliates disclaim all liability for any damages or losses arising from the application of this content.